Hi, ministry friends. This is Barry Davis with the Pastor's Helper. I am the owner of the Pastor's Helper and all the things that are connected to the Pastor's Helper. I want to get right into this. There's a lot of talk today about whether we should use ChatGPT, the AI program, or one of the other AI programs that are out there in ministry settings. And specifically, the ethical dilemma has been, should I use ChatGPT to write my sermons or to help me write my sermons? Well, I'll say right off the bat, I'm in agreement with those who would say, no, you should not use ChatGPT to write your sermons. Your people are paying you, or at least expecting you, to do your own study and to form your sermons and to rely on the Spirit and prayer to put those sermons together. So that being said, I still think ChatGPT can be a great help to you in putting together sermons and Bible studies, even though I would not have it actually write those for you. And I'm going to give you just a few examples of how you can use this. And I look at this very similar to as having a paid assistant that would do some of this work for you, or also simply looking up information in a book, at least in the way I'm going to use it here. So we're looking at the ChatGPT Plus screen right here. I'm using GPT-4, which is the latest version of this. And just let me give you some examples of how you can use this ethically, and it's going to be a really big time saver for you. So I'm going to go down here where it says send a message, and I'm going to use this to find a sermon illustration that I could use. Sometimes we have a lot of trouble finding those. You have all the old sermon illustration books, and people have heard those over and over again. You might have been preaching for a while at your church, and you've already used up all your own personal stories, and so you got to come up with something. Now, a lot of this with ChatGPT, if you want it to work well, you need to know how to ask it things appropriately. So here's an idea that I'm going to use. Say, I need a sermon illustration that tells a true story of suffering and healing. And then I'm going to say, please provide the source. Now, notice how I wrote that. I want it to tell a true story, and I want them to provide the source for the story. Because if you don't do that, and you just tell ChatGPT that you need a sermon illustration on whatever topic, it will make a story up for you to use, and it'll be a fictional story. Now, you could use that, but if so, you'd need to begin by saying, suppose such and such happened, or this is a fictional story I'm using to illustrate. I mean, you need to let people know that. So anyway, I've typed in the command. Now I'm going to click here and see what it comes up with. So look, the story of Joni Eareckson Tada. A lot of us are familiar with Joni Eareckson Tada, and it's going to tell us that particular story. And once it finishes telling the story, if you're wanting to use the story, you can simply copy and paste this into your word processing program or whatever it is you're using to put together your sermon. Of course, you want to read through it. You want to make sure that it's giving accurate information, but you can see how quickly this is giving us the information. I'm going to sit here and let it finish. Look, here's our source. Joni Eareckson Tada, 2001, and it's from her book, Joni, An Unforgettable Story. And I can read this and make sure this is what I want. If it isn't what I want, I could write in something like this. Don't ask it questions, just tell it what you want. So, meet with another true story. Provide the source. So maybe I don't like that story, so I want another one, or maybe I need two of them, or whatever that happens to be. I can tell it this. So now it's giving me this other story. I'm not familiar with this one, I don't believe. Actually, I am. This is the young man without arms and legs that's been on a lot of different videos, and he's a very uplifting, motivational speaker. So this is going to tell us about him. And again, you could go on and on. You could get thousands of stories out of this if you like to. And this is not copying just verbatim these stories. It is writing them based on what they've learned in the source. And here again is the source. So that's one example of a good way that you can use this. And I really don't see any difference in this, ethically speaking, than simply looking these things up in an illustration book. So let's try another one. Let's say I've got a sermon I've already written, I'm done with it, but I've been asked to speak on this topic to, say, a group of 10-year-olds. And I don't really want to rewrite this whole thing if I don't have to. And I've already put in the time. So I'm going to give this command. Rewrite the following sermon so that a 10-year-old can understand it. Then I'm going to go down a couple spaces. I'm going to go to where I have this sermon, and I've already highlighted it, and these are just my notes. This is not a manuscript, and we're going to see what it does. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT, and I'm going to right-click. I'm going to paste my notes in, and then I'm going to click this again. You can see above it's got, these are my notes that I gave it, but down here, look, it's rewriting it for these 10-year-olds. Hey kids, I'm so happy to see all of you here today. We're learning about people who are looking for Jesus. Last week we talked about Zacchaeus, a tax collector. Today we're talking about someone very different, a Roman centurion. Well, the sermon is on the Roman centurion, and I can see already, I'm just glancing at this quickly, just in the same way you are, he is paraphrasing my words from the sermon, and I can see that he's putting it more in a language that these kids would understand. I can also see that he is shortening it somewhat. When I say he, I mean ChatGPT. It's a robot. It's not really a person. So they've just really summarized it to a very short message. I could, if I wanted to, put a command on here and say, write this again, but add 200 words or something like that. And then I'd click on regenerate response, and it would do that. But let's say I just need a fact for a sermon or a Bible study I'm working on, or maybe somebody's asked me a question and I don't have the answer readily in front of me. So let's say I'd ask it a question like this. Say, what happened to all of Jesus' apostles? How did they die? And then again, I'm going to say, provide sources, because I want to be able to make sure that they're giving me accurate information, because sometimes there's one complaint I have, it will give some inaccurate information, or it will speculate on something that I really don't want it speculating on. So I've written in my command. Here we go. See what it says. So it says the fates of Jesus' apostles, also known as the 12 disciples, are a mix of historical accounts, church traditions, and legends. And then it gives me a summary. And that's true. I already know that to be true. Some of these stories have been passed down. Some of them we have some factual information for, but a lot of it is simply passed down through tradition. And so it's accurate about that. But so it has here about Andrew. Tradition holds that Andrew was crucified on an X-shaped cross in Patras, Greece. This is mentioned in the apocryphal text, the Acts of Andrew, and is supported by early Christian historian Eusebius. And so he gives the rest of this. I could pretty much, if I was using this for a Bible study or something, I could pretty much copy and paste this and give it out as a handout to help people to know what we know about these guys. And we're also obviously being very clear with them that a lot of this has just been passed down orally. And so, you know, we can't say for sure about that. So let's try one more useful way of doing this. I'm just going to click on stop generating on that. It's going to continue if I don't. So let's say we need some help, maybe even with Greek. Not all of us are Greek scholars. And so I could put in something like this. What Greek words are translated love in the New Testament? And then I'm going to ask, what is the significance of each word? And again, I'm going to say, please include your sources. Okay. So now I'm going to click this. So, in the New Testament, there are 4 Greek words commonly translated as love. Each word carries a different meaning, provided a nuanced understanding of the concept of love. Here are the 4 words and their significance. The first one, agape, and you see it even has it in Greek. And then it gives the explanation for that. It gives us some examples of what scripture passages we will find that in. Then eros, again, romantic, passionate love. Gives us, again, some more examples. Phileo, brotherly or friendly love. Tells us more about that. And then the last one, storge, which refers to natural familial love, often used to describe the love between parents and children. And he goes on and on. And then we're going to have some sources. The New Testament in its original Greek language and various English translations. Little Scott and Jones, which is the Greek lexicon. These are all very solid sources that it's giving us here. So you can see that ChatGPT can be used for sermon preparation, Bible study preparation. You don't need to ask it to write your sermon for you, but it is an extremely fast and efficient way to get information in your hands. You're the one that is creating this. You're the one that's coming up with the idea for your sermons and your Bible studies. But just like how you look up illustrations, or you might look up these Greek words in Liddell Scott and Jones yourself, here it is for you. And obviously it's written out in a very, very nice way. So ChatGPT Plus, it's a good tool if you use it in an ethical way. I'd love to hear your comments, see what you think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there some ways that you've used ChatGPT that you'd like to share with the rest of us so that we can learn? I'm just giving you 4 ways here, but I could give you a whole bunch more. I'd like to hear, though, what you think. Again, this is Barry Davis with the Pastor's Helper, and I thank you so much for joining in today.